Hello, 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 gentlemen.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. How is it going? Good evening.
I'm good. I'm good. How are y'all doing? Everybody all right?
All is
Yeah,
well.
Yes,
yeah.
sir. Yes, sir. Well, is that time again? Uh, starting this, I almost said start the week, but we're not starting the week. The week already started.
Mm.
Yes, sir. And I'm very excited as usual to come on here and for us just to sharpen one another. And in this evening, we have a special treat, specially brought to you by Mr. Richie. Sir, we are excited to hear what you're going to bring for us this evening. So we are not going to even take any longer. Just no delays. Just get straight into it, and I'm looking forward to being stretched.
All
Go
right.
for it, sir.
All right. So, gents, once again, let's have a grand time. And as always, it's the conversation.
That's right.
Conversation I would love to start this evening on is us looking at the use and the thought and the thinking, um, mindsets, all of that around uncertainty. And this uncertainty we're looking at is going to be uh, shown to you as one of the most useful tools in your arsenal rather than something of despair, rather than something of, you know, uh, of what it says, not knowing. Um, so I want to start off by saying to you that you have to expect a level of uncertainty if you have made a firm decision to grow. In everything we do once you're alive, there's always a level of uncertainty. But for some reason, when you start thinking of growth and start thinking of this and that, that level or amount of uncertainty suddenly seems to be on the increase.
Mm.
And the more you focus on it, um, the more it begins to look like this mountain that you cannot pass, you can't climb, you cannot take your eyes off of. And you begin to ask yourself the question of what, how, where, who, you know. Then you default to an angle of, well, somebody got to come and help me. And then you get the good news, nobody coming to help you. So you begin to look at this as, okay, well, you begin to get all downtrodden and stuff. And I want to say to you, look, actually, when the level of uncertainty begins to somehow feel like if it's rising and it wants to overwhelm you, be rest assured that you're quite close to what it is. And uncertainty is much similar to going to the gym,
Mm.
very much similar. The more that you go to the gym and let's say you started off lifting 1.5 kg or zero point 0.5 kg. If you carry on with that from Monday, by Thursday you probably will find yourself on 2.5 kg.
Mm.
Because if you go back and lift that 1.5 kg quite fast, you feel like if you want to trade away. Uncertainty is like that. But here's the deal, and the good news: you never focus on the uncertainty. You focus on the various aspects in the moment of the growth that you're working. So that could be whether you chose to study, whether you decide you want to learn to drive, whether you decide you want to take the business from one level to another, whether you decide that, okay, right, rather than doing a million and one things, we're just going to choose these five things, and you come to realize, no, I'm just going to choose this one. And this month, we're going to do this one. Okay? So, first good news I want to share with you, and something to open your eyes to if you didn't spot it, is the entire gospel has prepared you to live a life on this earth full of uncertainty. Because the whole gospel talks about hope, the whole gospel talks about faith, and the Bible never says that I could see anywhere that you know the plans for you, which means you don't really know nothing. He will drop that idea in you. You need to begin to run with it. He will begin to make things clear as you go ahead. So, for all those of us who might not believe in God or any form of superior, here's a challenge you have. You always think you may have the answers, you want to work it out, and you will, I guarantee you, meet a moment when you simply don't have the answers. And this is not a moment where you say your head is against the wall. This is where you completely against the wall. You will. Even if it's a day before you die, you will experience it because that is how this thing is designed. So, first, good news for some of us who are Christians. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. None of that provides clarity, except it begins to take your eyes off of the uncertainty that you seem to be facing. Please remember everything I'm saying here starts with a state of mind, a state of being. So if we look at what uncertainty means, it does mention according to how us humans have defined it, a state or the state of being uncertain. So it's a state. Now, anything that has a state is temporary. Yeah. So this means also the Bible says this too shall pass. So these things I want to open our eyes to. Before we get into the discussion, I'm painting this full picture to us. So we understand that, look, this is an arsenal. This is a tool in the arsenal to be used, a tool for you to use rather than something there to kill you or to throw you in the wastebasket. It's not there for that. The other thing I want to say to us is that when you hit uncertainty, you need to remember these things that we have spoken about many, many times in the past on these sessions. And one of them is to write down your vision and make it clear. What does make it clear? Not write it down, put it in a book, put it in a corner, and you made it clear for the book to see the other page that is covered or the cover. Put it where you can see it, because Romans 10:9 says, if you declare with your mouth Jesus is Lord, if you declare with your mouth the vision that he has given to you and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. Okay, let's look at that carefully. What that verse is also saying to you, if you declare with your mouth that which he has spoken to you about and promised you, it's going to be clear. So all he's saying to you, let me ask you a question here. Since you saw Mr. Certain, for somebody who might not believe what we're talking about, you're so certain that tomorrow when you get up, they're going to have electricity. You're so certain that you could walk. You're so certain that when you step out there, the bus will come for you or the car will start. No. But you have this preset faith and hope. And you are practicing that on autopilot. So why is it we can't have that same autopilot for certain things in our life? Well, it simply means that because we are human beings that work in moments, everything is a moment. So the experience you have now, this very second, you may have a similar experience, but you will never have the exact same experience unless God designed it for you to have that one. And some things that you go through and deal with that presents you with uncertainty, doubt, a negative approach, mind you, those things may be coming your way not because of only how you are, what you're attracting, what you based on what you give out, but they're coming your way because you probably got a bigger thing to deal with. And this is the exercise that has exercise that. So, most of us parents, when you pray, if you're from the Caribbean, you start praying, the child giving you troubles, and then you turn around and say, God, give me strength. God don't suddenly just, like Bruno and Popeye and pump some strength and you see all the arms come up like that. It doesn't work like that. All of a sudden, what you find, you have issues or things appear for you to practice this faith that you just asked for. So God is a God of serious multiplication, but before He give you that, He want to make sure that you're in the right position so that the thing which is supposed to prosper you and make you grow does not kill you. I read something that made me smile today. So a couple of guys went and um, they took uncertainty to a whole different level, and they thought, look, we're gonna go and play the lotto. Why not? They played the lotto and they won. I think it was 10 or 20 of them, can't remember how many. They won. When they won, they're going to tell the boss now that they're working. Look, we won this lotto. The boss is like, oh, you guys? Nah. The guys check, the boss check, and he realized, oh, these guys are serious. He then sends a very serious email, text, and telephone call. It's very important you return to work. I know you want some money, but it's important you return to work. Okay, so here's the deal. With this whole thing, basically, you have got to begin to see yourself. Once you begin to speak about growth, you begin to speak about where you want to go. Remember, your words have power. Not because you've come up with an idea and you start spitting out whatever comes to your head. Your words have power. When you take it to another level and you say, oh, I'm frustrated. So you go on tears and you don't have sackcloth, but you just put the pillow and you dare and you let it all out to God. He knew you would do that. He's prepared for you. He's always ready to give you the help that you need. But you just had a chat with him. God does not waste time. He gets to. He is always working. And the work actually is always done when it comes to him. So you said that prayer 5 years ago and think that, oh, and then you got another prayer ready and another one ready. You always got something ready. But here's the deal. What you asked for is on its way. It's actually been ready for you. And you might act on it and stop, act on it and stop. It's going to go as fast as you would allow it to go. Yeah? Galatians 2:16. Know that a person is not justified by the works of the law, but by faith in Jesus Christ. So hold on, wait. We're talking about uncertainty. Corinthians 5:7. For we live by faith and not by sight. Yeah. So, and if you go back to Jeremiah 29:11, you don't know all the plans, but he knows. So here's the big question I have for you. You feel uncertain. You need clarity like never before because you're a person that can't do anything without clarity. You think you're onto a winning something, but you don't know where to start. You're so frustrated that you have given up because you're frustrated. So the question is, if, and this is a question that was asked to me many times in my life, let's assume, and this is where people get very confused, let's assume all being equal, let's assume that you have no limits on the table. What would you do? How would you get started? And they simply cannot see past that moment of no limits, no issues. So the question I have for you is, if you're dealing with uncertainty, if you're having issues with trying to change your state of mind, because it always starts with that, are you truly ready to just say, I give it up to God. I give up wanting to have the control. I give up wanting to know every detail before I start. And I'm willing to learn and I'm willing to take the steps as they come. If you can start with that, and then are you willing to use what looks like it's your disadvantage to see it as your advantage? And be patient and wait. Sometimes we want to get there like yesterday, everything we need to get there. Yeah. And God is saying, no, listen, I know you want to buy a Tesla, a Tesla. I know you want to buy whatever. But the type of journey and work you do, the Tesla does not support that. You drive 500 miles a day. There's no charging point between there. So can't give you this Tesla you want yet. You need to stay on fuel because there are only petrol stations in between. And the power support that you have if you go at the other end where you work is not regular. So I cannot give you something, but you want to push it. And then you begin to incur expenses, you begin to have a lot of issues. I just use that example as an extreme to show you that, hey, if you're in that moment, take a step back and do something one step at a time. You don't need to know everything. So the question is, or questions, one, are you really ready to change the way or the angle that you do this? Two, as us on here, when you come up with dealing with uncertainty, how do you approach it? Have you dealt with a situation where you felt completely hopeless? And then did you experience that moment when you just say, you know what, I hands off. I am not going to push this. I'm not going to, because I'm not getting anywhere. I'm still the same place I was 3 years ago when I'm trying to do this. And did you see a breakthrough after you took a step back and you let God um, handle this? There's two other Bible verses, and then I'll open it for a chat. Um, Matthew 21:21, um, and this had to do with Jesus and his disciples. And they were asking him some questions and they're having a conversation. Matthew 21 turns around and says, Jesus replied, truly I tell you, if you have faith and not doubt, not only can you do what was not done to the fig tree, if you remember the story of the fig tree, he's illustrating to them, but also you can say to this mountain, go throw yourself in the sea and it will be done. So here's the deal. If you are ready to make a decision about your state, and if you are ready to believe that the little steps contribute to the bigger picture, rather than knowing the whole drawing board and not know where to start. And then the final part I want to say is this. If you truly believe that as you do it step by step, you become a master of being prepared for the next step, whatever that may be, because you're doing this step by step in faith without doubt. You don't have time to doubt now. You don't have time to think about uncertainty because you're busy working. You're busy doing step by step. So I want to open it up to us. Let's go around and discuss that aspect of dealing with uncertainty and how if you have faced it and how you've actually overcome those moments.
I
Or
thank you so much for kicking it off. I was going to go first, but I haven't really faced uncertainty, Mr. Richie. That's I just I just thought I would. I just want to get the feel on you guys' faces when I say this, so that I can check if if we're still engaged. Anyway, I have this analogy. This from the story of my life. I have this analogy of the fake control that we believe that we have over life. And I believe that's the funniest thing, that God looks down on us and just sees, oh, okay, he is in control. He's got his plan. He's done. New Year's resolution is all done. It's all done and dusted. He doesn't even know what I've planned for February, even January, let alone February, or March, or, let's see how it's goes until we get to the end of the year. And you just figure out that all the things that you've listed out there, even though you put in your best efforts, it's not happening. And that's the reality of the lives that we live. We claim to have control. And that came much to fore when during the COVID lockdown, you know, all the plans, all the conferences, all the meetings, all the places that we must be at and we must drive to, we must gather at, and so on. The holidays that we must take every year because I have to take a holiday. Suddenly, all those became useless. They became impossible because we have been shown the reality of our nature. And if you're a person of faith, our faith, and that is exactly one big lesson that came out from COVID, especially for me. That idea of losing control, and the world is in trouble, that your family is at risk, but what can you really do? You can't really do anything, but you're alive, you're strong. Most of the things that we think that we can't do, we think, oh, it's because I'm not strong today, because I've not got money today, or because I don't have time today. And all those things were just cleared in front of us. Some of us, or most of us, we had money, we had time, we had our health. Everything that we would normally want was there, but we were helpless. We couldn't change that situation. And that's one part of it for me. And that sort of explained most of the circumstances that I've faced in my life, and sort of brought me back to reality to say, sometimes you think you're in control. That's fake, because we are not really in control. It's only God that is in control. And I have this analogy of God always taking me from where I think things are going bad and always taking me to the top of the cliff. When you're learning to swim, they will say toes on the tip. Yes, toes on the edge before you can jump. I just get the feeling like that's how our lives are. Sometimes in the midst of what we call uncertainty, the Lord takes us and puts our toes on the edge and shows us the depth of the valley. And in fact, sometimes we spring off to jump into the valley. And he said, no, I just wanted you to see it. That's done. It's okay. Let's move on to the next test, and so on. And, instead of being that person who is falling into the ditch, you come back to where you never believed was possible again. But unfortunately, as time goes on, give it 1 day, 2 days, we hit the same thing because we have a plan, because that's what certainty and being set in our ways without committing our ways to God so that he can choose what happens or not. That's what it does. It brings discouragement because you keep planning and it's not working, because it's not aligned with what the Lord wants us to do. And then you're wondering, why is it not working? And that brings a lot of discouragement until you get to the stage where, in most cases I've got to now, where I say, you know what? I'll just turn up every day. I know that God is in control of everything. Although some days you wake up and you want to take control, and then you hit the bar, you hit the stumbling blocks, you hit everything, and it's only when you now sit down in your frustration, trying to console yourself, that you say, "Oh, actually, what was I trying to do? What if what I wanted to succeed at today wasn't the will of God?" or what if that destroyed me if I succeeded in it? There's still a reason to be grateful for it. But the reality of life is we go through that, then after a few days we forget again how God rescued us from those positions of uncertainty. And until somebody else, or until we realize again that, look, you've been through something similar to that before, and just trust God and not in all those your powers. And sometimes I believe that God teaches us that lesson to say, all powers are in my hands. The fact that you're able to do these things and follow the steps does not guarantee that the result will be the same, and does not guarantee that somebody who didn't take these steps will still get the same thing. DC. And that's what I wanted to add to that one. I hope I made a bit of sense.
Awesome. 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 All right, Mr. Richie. All right. Wow. I thought you jumping in there. So
Oh
like,
no, I mean,
like,
it's like it's that the man always comes with some serious nuggets there that you just gotta stop. You
you
can't
gave you gave both of us a brain freeze there for a second.
No, when I said to the one, I said, well, then maybe this guy not human, is it?
Both of us had some brain freeze there. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Gino.
Yes,
Wow,
yes.
wow. I mean, if, for me to kind of like just add to that, and just give a yeah, add my perspective to it. Um, I think when it comes to uncertainty, um, it's part of life, to be honest, because we just don't know. It doesn't matter how much we plan. It doesn't matter how much we prepare, how much we've studied, how much we've researched, whatever the case might be. You've done your homework, but there is always that possibility that things won't work out the way that we planned. And I think we will deceive ourselves if we feel if we're at a place where I've got this covered. It's like, just leave me. I'm driving. I will show you what I'll do with this thing. I'll take it where it's never been before. Bro, we will leave you. We will leave you by yourself. By yourself, because just right down there on the around the corner, there's a ditch. And there's always a, and I think uh, the way I'm looking at this, we gotta be comfortable with uncertainty. And I think the reason why we sometimes uh, try to pretend that we have the confidence that everything will work out fine is because how it will make us look. It's like we we are not comfortable within our skin to say, I don't know, I'm not sure, because the way that it will reflect on you is might not it might not look good. But I'll rather just say, listen, yeah, I don't know, I haven't got the answer, but I'll make the effort to find out. I'll try and see if if we continue to go in this direction, maybe I will not take the family down a ditch. you know because at the end of the day, we are not on a journey by ourselves, and I think that's kind of like the thing that we always have to keep in front of ourselves, is when we make decisions, even in a state of uncertainty, uh, you have to be able to move both in boldness, but also being cautious that I'm not by myself. If I'm by myself, yeah, it's okay. I'll take the heat. I'll take the damage. But there are other people that are on the journey. They are your kids, they're your wife, or whether you have a company, maybe you have employees. So whatever the case might be, but that thing of uncertainty is let's be comfortable with it, because sometimes we just don't know, and most of the time, in fact, we don't know. And I think the reason why I think it's a good place to be is that's the place of growth, because the greatest issue that or let me put it this way, um, it's not the amount of answers that you have or I have that will get us to the next stage. Is the amount of quality questions that we are willing to ask. Listen, I don't know. So here's the question. Maybe somebody has the answer. That's the thing that will take us further than we ever can imagine, if we are courageous enough to ask the right questions and not sometimes pretend that we have the answers, because we don't. Everybody knows that we don't. Yeah, and we just gotta, yeah, uncertainty. Let's just be comfortable with that. Let's just be comfortable with it. Yeah, that's my contribution. I just want to give a shout out there to one of the guys online. I think it might be Mr. Rabi. Is that you, sir? Give us a shout out just to make sure it's you or maybe somebody else. Um, Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate your time. All right, that's me, Mr. Thank you, sir.
That's wonderful. Quite excited that we've got people joining us. So definitely welcome. And if you've got questions, just pop them on there.
Yeah.
Kendrick will definitely let us know. But Kendrick, I actually, Chidozie, I really want to thank you for that contribution you gave, because I think you gave a lot of people can relate to various times and various moments of uncertainty during that time, purely because it disrupted their usual flow of everything that they were accustomed to, and therefore being in the not know. Kendrick, I really love when you said saying I don't know. That's a very great position to be in. And it sounds crazy for me to say that, but when you can admit you don't know, funny enough, it sets a bar for you to then become the voice, the authority on it. Because suddenly, whatever comes out your mouth after that, if it relates to you knowing something, although you said you don't know, people will believe that, they will work with that, they will hold on to that. Because it suddenly means you've suddenly educated yourself somehow, although you said you don't know. And also saying you don't know, that's you admitting to yourself, I need to learn. I'm willing to move from this position where I am at the moment. Now, if you pretend that you know it all, you're doing yourself a disservice, because what happened, you throw yourself into a panic now when you see those people around those people again, because you're thinking they expect you to always know, but they already knew. You never knew in the first place. So you're doing yourself a disservice. The other thing you said, Kendrick, that's interesting. You spoke about the boldness. And I want to share three things that will hopefully jerk the slack out of us. The first thing is going to be Joshua 1:9. The Bible says, have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous? And I'm thinking, I'm speaking it purely because it's late, but I'm not giving this thing the sort of power that it's really meant to say to you. It's like a rebuke, but at the same time an affirmation. Be strong and courageous. Don't be afraid. Don't be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Hold on. As Christians, where do we believe the Holy Spirit lives? Within us. So why do you feel you are alone? All of a sudden, you had some coffee, so you think the Holy Spirit jump out and you gone and he gone. And then you got to run back and catch the Holy Spirit. It doesn't work that way. He's always there. That's why sometimes when you don't want to hear him, you you're not supposed to eat more than 4 M&Ms. You did gobbling down 20. And you're thinking and all of a sudden you hear that voice saying to you, you shouldn't be doing that, You say, yeah, he's still there. He didn't jump out so you can drink your 20 and then come back, Right? Psalms 37, 23, 24. The Lord makes firm the steps of one who delights in him. Stop. Stop right there. How can you have such a firm step and a sure answer in times of uncertainty? Easy. I'm not saying uncertainty is easy. I'm saying changing your state of mind towards it gives you that ease of knowing that as I take my steps, step by step, and as a Christian, you depend on the Holy Spirit, that you're planting your feet on firm ground, which means you don't have to come back and learn this lesson all over again. Right? Though he may stumble, you will not fall. So just like Chidozi was saying, you go to the edge, because sometimes we need to appreciate what we've accomplished, where we've come from, to understand that what you think is uncertainty now, what you've dealt with in the past, keyword dealt with, yeah, you allowed the process to happen, not because you had control, has prepared you for now. Let me throw something else in the bag. So you're going to hit retirement and you expect to draw down on pension. The question is, if you had the choice every time you were paid not to pay anything towards that, so, not to pay taxes, not to do anything, but you still expect to get the pension, the time you were working and that contribution happening was the process. The uncertainty during those times were very high because you don't know whether you'll have employment, have a job, any money will be coming in. But then if the reality really faces you as you get closer to that age, when you do a check to see, hold on, wait, do I have enough income to support the pension I expect? Because you talk to John and John says, well, I get £1,200 a month or whatever it is on pension payments. And you think, well, that's what I expect to get. But you didn't know what John's process was for the last 40, 50, 60 years of his life. Your process was sleep, eat, do as you feel. So now they tell you, well, the most you can get is £20 a month. You're like, what? So pay attention to the voice that speaks to you. Pay attention to those moments when it says you're hearing this voice. I'm not saying voices, voice saying to you, get up now, do this, do that. You had this other voice saying to you, you know what, you should do that course. Why? Because 2 years from now, 6 months from now, 2 minutes from now, it is subject to change. I want to then share with you the story about the walls of Jericho. A lot of you may know that. And somebody say to you, you see those walls there? If we sing and we dance and we shout and keep going around these walls, they're going to fall down. You look at those walls and you say to yourself, I tell you, Clinton mad. Clinton is the top guru madman you could find. So expect him to tell you anything. Those walls cannot fall. I have studied all the engineering around how walls are built. That wall was built seriously. Okay, but little do you know, God knew exactly what the state of the wall was. So while you're being uncertain of that plan that came out, that you refuse to support, he also knows of your state, he knows the state of that wall, and he knows of the state of the people who would accept that and begin to act on it. Now, you could imagine the people who said, yes, let's do it. And they're going wrong in the thing. And probably other people looking at them, peeping at them or whatever the case is, and they're thinking to themselves, well, you know what? This thing like it ain't coming down for truth. You're walking down shouting. But listen, when it seemed inconceivable, God gave Joshua a plan. So the idea, he didn't have a plan. He started executing the idea. So that means you can begin to go in all directions on it. But you just stick with God. Be patient and keep praying. Then that's okay, Search, Josie. Got it. Um, and this story goes on to say, but it was a plan that required Joshua to have great faith. That means your reward is going to be great. The outcome is going to be great. God told Joshua and his army to march around the city of Jericho for 7 days. Now, I don't know whether it was 24 hours a day. I don't know what the story was. Yeah. And then on the 7th day to blow their trumpets. Now, some of us in engineering, or if you just have common sense and you put it to this, this is an army. I don't know how big the army was. But that consistent or consistency during the process of uncertainty, yeah, you keep going, it keep going, you will weaken the negatives and increase the positive outcome. So, when the trumpet sounded, the army shouted, and the sound of the trumpet, when the men gave a loud shout, the wall collapsed. So imagine, we're not even in those times, in these times where we are, when we have all this technology and testing things and know, they're using the power of sound to weaken this thing and make it fall. He did not know this plan, but he was given the plan after. When the trumpet sounded, so everyone charged straight in and they took the city. So despite the ridicule of others, this is what you got to be prepared for. Joshua put his trust in God and followed what seemed to be bizarre instructions. On the 7th day of marching, the men blew their trumpets and let out a cry. In a mighty display of God's faithfulness, the walls of Jericho fell to the ground. Yeah. Why did I share that example? Everything that I said there sounds like if I just painted a sob story, a negative story. Actually, I'm not. I'm trying to tell you that everything you see as a negative is a positive. But it only becomes a positive when you begin to act on it. And it's a process. You go step by step. This is life. This is the life that God has created. And it shows you how excited God is for you to grow and prosper and do well. But you simply have to have the faith that it can happen, it will happen. Yeah. Somebody who has had, in the world we're living right now, with people putting their faith in cryptocurrencies, people putting their faith in politics, and day after day, you can simply see a hurricane can come, a pandemic can come and wipe everything, but also bring everything to a standstill that you do not know whether to go left, right, center, wherever. And you need to go back to the drawing board and come up with a plan. So the good news is that is life. But in that, there is growth, there is newness, there is freshness, there is the abundance, there is the overflow. So with that, I want to say to us that if we experience these things, begin not to question, why me, God? No, don't do that. Don't get discouraged and then you all of a sudden need to go into prayer and fasting just to get answers as to why you're going downhill. There could be lots of other reasons. I'm not saying this is the only angle. I'm just saying that when you experience things that seem to be a negative, It's very important that you begin to understand that there is a flip side of the positive. This is meant to jerk the slack out of you. It is meant to show you where your weaknesses are so you can make them strengths. Because you have something new ahead. You have that thing for which you wanted, it's going to be there. The other thing I want to share is that sometimes we enter a state of uncertainty so we can assist other people. Because growth is not a singular thing, it's a multiplication in many directions. Yeah? Look as though I'm doing some sort of dance moves. Right? So a friend may tell you something, and all of a sudden, everything looks uncertain from his angle, from your angle. But then you may find if you are seen or perceived as a people person meaning that you encourage people, you might be a pastor, you might be a deacon, you might be a speaker, you might be a motivational speaker. People come and share all this stuff, and every time they come with stuff, it's not going to be the positive, I'm fantastic and I'm all of that. And every time you're trying to throw a spin on it, they tell you, no, I'm telling you, I dealt with this 10 times before. If you've gone through that so many times, I'm telling you, there's a reason that you need to allow the process. Number one, so that you can correct some of the wrongs you're doing. But number two, that you can learn from it and gain the strength to go forward to the next thing. Because the same way how you will never be 21 all the time, you will never be 30 all the time, is the same way the state of life changes and moves on. So I hope that this session has helped you to really begin to unlock for yourself, how can I use this as a tool, uncertainty, and bundle it with things like consistency, and allow yourself through the process, give yourself permission. Also forgive yourself that you have not done it in the past, but give yourself permission to go forward now. The faster you do these things, like Kendrick said, with the boldness to do certain things, and when you don't know, because the faster you decide, I'm ready to learn, I am here. That's how you move forward. So I hope this was helpful, guys. Kendrick?
Wow. That's just amazing, sir. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. You know what? I just wanna kind of like want to add something to what you just mentioned, and I think, well, my hope is that this will kind of like open your eyes when it comes to uncertainty, because I believe that uncertainty is nothing more than just perception. Because sometimes the way we look at a thing brings doubt. The way we look at a thing brings uncertainty. The way that we look at a thing, it maybe can produce unbelief or whatever the case might be for you. It's just because of how we look at it, the angle at which we look at the specific thing. Now, if I, for example, ask you what you see in here, and you tell me that you see green, and I'm telling you, no, it's not green what you see, it's red. No, I'm going somewhere with this. You telling me you seeing green, but I'm telling you, no, what you seeing is not green. It's not that thing is not green. It is red, and you kind of like, and we kind of got to and fro like that. But now now we even bring in somebody else, and that person say, no, it's not. It's not red. It's not red. It's not green. It is red, green, yellow, blue, and pink.
Yes. Yes.
And you like, the devil is a liar. Look at this one here. How can you? Can we see red? You see green. and this nincompoop is telling us that he's seeing yellow, green, red, yellow, and blue. Why?
Yes.
Because it's just the it's just the perception. It's just the angle at which we're looking at. So now, then you are very quick to tell me that I'm wrong. I'm quick.
Yes.
I'm quick to tell you that you are wrong.
Mhm.
But now, if we now make a decision, if you decide now, okay, let me see things from Kendrick's perspective, and I do that, and what you see red, because now
Mm.
you see from my side, but you were convinced, and now we say, okay, let's go and see what this nincompoop is talking about. Then this guy saying, look, this is what I've been seeing. I've been seeing yellow, red, green, blue, and pink.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, you see
Yes.
what I mean, and it's
Yes.
kind of like if so. Sometimes if we just, I know the illustration might be a little bit silly, but
Oh, that was perfect.
if you just think about it, if you feel uncertain about a thing, sometimes all we need to do is just try and change your perspective at which you look at a thing,
Yes.
because it's not that you are wrong, it's not that you are right either. It's just the angle at which you're looking at a thing. So if you feel like the way you're approaching a thing that produces more uncertainty, try something new. Try the yellow, green, pink, and get a bird's eye view perspective on the thing, where you are not where you remove judgment, because
Mhm.
sometimes the reason why we get stuck in a certain kind of a mindset is because we always think about something is right or something is wrong,
Yes.
and it's like you wrong, you what no, it's I'm not wrong, you just seeing it different from the way I'm seeing it, and
Yes.
somebody else is seeing it, because yeah, we can see the guy didn't lie. Yeah,
Exactly.
you didn't lie. I didn't lie. It's red, and you didn't lie. It's green. So it's just the angle at which you were looking uh, at that specific situation, or whatever the circumstances might be. So it's just about it's perception. So
I I love that very much because it's another point for me to say to you that to anyone watching this and thinking, well, this doesn't fit my scenario.
mm, mm,
Well, here's the deal. Um, the truth is that, like you said, there is never a wrong or right in this.
mm,
And what you should never do, which we've spoken about many times, is don't compare what somebody else's outcome was in a
mm.
similar scenario to what your outcome is going to be.
Yeah, yeah,
You don't, they didn't even know what their outcome was going to be. Don't even if they said, this, whenever this happens, I just know. No, no. They're saying that at the aftermath.
mm, mm,
Okay. They're just applying based on historical events in their life, and they're applying stuff and hope that it works.
mm, mm.
Yeah, our life is similar to, for those of us who may understand this, to how Google ranking works. You know, you build a website, you put it in there, but you don't know whether it's going to rank first. Don't matter. They cannot nobody can guarantee it
Yeah,
because you are not Google.
yeah.
Yeah, only Google can.
Mr. G,
Exactly.
the
When you
big
got the
G,
G up
the big,
there,
yeah, the big G.
you've got
Yeah.
you've got Google up there. Who? I mean, Google. You've got You've got God up there who sees and knows everything.
Yes,
So
yeah,
perspective and seeing it from different views is very, very important. But at
very
the same
important.
time, don't use it to your detriment. Any tool in the arsenal,
Mm,
don't use it to question and negate
mm,
your first steps.
mm,
You understand?
yeah.
So although you might have seen it so many aspects, just be open to the fact that, okay, I'm going to have to make this step.
Mm, mm,
You're going out, you need a shoe. How is it going to get on? You're going to sit down and put it on. You ever notice how women dress? Women dressing is a good one of turning your negatives into positive.
mm.
The amount of outfit they try on in front of the mirror. Right?
Oh man, you're gonna get us into trouble now, bro.
No, they still love us, don't worry. Until they get it. No, but the thing of it, they want to get it right for us. They
That's
want to
right.
get it right. you know, so
Absolutely.
that the whole thing complements. And actually, they then turn around and say, well, I'm wearing this, you can't wear that. Now,
Yes.
here's the deal. As we begin to do those steps, we move to that. So, guys, I really hope you've benefited from this. We are at the top of the hour. If anybody's got anything else to add, I hope that this approach and what we've shared with you tonight have added value to your life.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. Anything from you, Mr. Rabi? If you know any questions, any comments, yeah, just give us a shout out there. Thank you so much for jumping on. I don't know if Mr. Hess, I know he's probably driving at the moment. Anything that he wants to add, go for it.
He's back.
Go for it, sir.
We can't hear you.
We can't hear you at the moment. Try again.
I think he's probably.
Unmute yourself again. We can't hear you, sir.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
We can't hear you. We can't hear you. No, still nothing.
That's all right.
No, still nothing.
That's all right.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, guys. Now I can hear.
Oh, there you
Yes,
are.
we can hear you.
You have a
Go for it.
There you are, persistent.
So
Go
much.
for it. Thank you, sir. Go for it. We can hear you now.
Yeah, I was just saying, very interesting topic that we've looked at tonight. Some in a high level of, yeah, that's very motivating. But thank you so much for bringing it tonight. I'm hoping that everybody else listening has benefited as much as I have, because that's the definition of the life we live: uncertainty.
Yes.
On that note, thank you so much, guys, and apologies for the hitch. I had fatherhood responsibilities that I had to carry out.
That's how it works.
Thank you, guys.
That's priorities. Thank you so much for taking out the time to jump on. Well, Mr. Richie, thank you so much, sir. Yeah, I don't know if you want to take us out.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm just really excited with the hope that it has added value and it's given some sort of starting point to those of us who needed a push start. So I hope I didn't push you too hard. I hope I just pushed you just enough. Thank you once again, and we will see you the same time, 8 p.m. next week, Wednesday, same place, same time.
Awesome.
See you soon, guys.
Thank you, sir. See you soon. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Guys, God bless. Bye-bye.